Good morning, everybody. So today we are starting a new module. We're module 15 now, and this is the beginning of our geometry and measurement unit. So we are going to be looking at two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes, and we're going to learn how to classify them. To classify means to put into a category. We are making it easier to understand. We do this a lot in science, like we classify matter as a solid, liquid, or gas. In geometry, specifically dealing with two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes, we are going to classify shapes into specific types of shapes. So today we are working with quadrilaterals. You learned in one of your videos that the word quad means four. The word lateral means line. So all of the shapes that we're going to be working with today have four lines. That's what makes it a quadrilateral. So let's start with our essential question. This question says, how can you use right angles and parallel sides to help you classify quadrilaterals? So there's a couple of things we need to identify. First is right angles. Second is parallel sides. So I have here a sticky note. It has the list of quadrilaterals that you should have learned in the second math lesson video. And this is a rectangle. I know that because it is a quadrilateral. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. It has right angles at my corners. And I have two sets of parallel lines. This line and this line are going in the same direction, as well as this one and this one going in the same direction. So a right angle ooh, that's hard to see. Let me turn that off. That's better. A right angle creates a 90-degree angle. This right here is 90 degrees. Or in other words, it forms a perfect L. Okay? That is a right angle. Parallel. Oh, I keep wanting to put extra R's in the word. There's only one R in parallel. Lots of L's, one R. Parallel lines are lines that they go in the same direction and they are the same width apart and they will never ever touch. Like I could make this line go forever and ever and ever and it would never touch this line because they don't curve towards each other or they're not angled towards each other. So this is parallel lines. I like to think of it as equal sign because that's what makes sense in my head. So parallel lines can be this way or they can go this way. If I was to extend these lines, they would never ever touch. So we can actually classify quadrilaterals or four-sided figures based on right angles and parallel sides. So now that we have a better understanding of a right angle and a parallel line, let's unlock our problem. I'm going to get a little closer. Maybe. Here we go. An angle is formed when two rays that share an endpoint. So a ray is a line that continues on. That's why we put the arrow on it to signify that it can keep going. So these are both rays. This dot says, hey, they stop here. So we call that the endpoint. So two-dimensional figures have angles formed by two line segments that share an endpoint. The shared endpoint is called a vertex. The plural of vertex is vertices. So a vertex is one endpoint. Vertices is multiple endpoints. This is just more than one vertex. Okay? So let's go through all of that. So Jason drew this polygon, which you know a polygon is any shape with straight lines and angles, and quadrilaterals are a type of polygon. There's no curve, and they all touch, all the sides touch. So there's not an opening. That's what makes it a polygon. It's a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. Okay, so Jason drew this polygon on dot paper. How many angles are there? Well, let's talk about what an angle is. So an angle is where 2 vertices connect. So you have an end point, and then the space in between the 2 lines is an angle. So this right here is an angle, and this is an angle, this is an angle, and this is an angle. Because I have 2 line segments that are at an endpoint, the space between them is an angle. So when I look at this quadrilateral polygon, how many angles do you have? Well, I have 4 vertices, so I'm going to have 4 angles. How many sides do I have? Well, it's a quadrilateral. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Okay? So this is how we're going to start classifying our quadrilaterals. How many angles does it have? What kind of angles does it have? How many sides are there? How many vertices are there? Those are all ways to classify shapes. Let's look at another one. It says Jason's polygon has 2 right angles. They form square corners. You can use a corner of a sheet of paper to tell if an angle is a right angle. So let's test that theory. This is my piece of paper. If I put it up to that angle, it does. It forms a perfect corner, right? What if I did the other one? Look at that, another perfect 90-degree corner. We're going to call that a right angle, okay? It says to draw boxes to show the right angles. So on this one up here, I kind of did a curve to show these angles, but on these 2, I did boxes. I'm going to do that box to show that it's a right angle. And this is a symbol that you'll use in math from now until forevermore. This is one that is known worldwide to mark a right angle. And that tells us that it is 90 degrees. We get 90 degrees because a straight line is 180 degrees. Half of that, if I was to divide that in half and turn my line up, it would be a 90-degree angle because 90 is half of 180. So that's how we get 90 degrees. And we'll learn more about degrees and angles later on. So the box signifies a right angle. So let's look at Jason's polygon. How many pairs of sides are parallel? Okay, we learned what parallel is. Parallel are lines that are going the same direction and will never touch. And they're equal distance apart. Equal distance apart, going in the same direction. So let's look at this crazy shape. Does this shape have any parallel lines? Well, if I start with this side, is there a line that goes straight up and down over here? No, we have this one that kind of goes at an angle. If I was to extend my line and extend this line, eventually they would touch. That means that they are not parallel. How about this one? And this one. Those 2 are going in the same direction. They're the same distance apart, and they will never touch as long as they don't turn. So these 2 are parallel. So lines that appear to never cross or meet and are always the same distance apart are parallel lines. So Jason's polygon has 1 pair of parallel lines. Why did I put the number 1 instead of 2? There's 2 lines, so why did I put 1 right there? That's right, because it has the word pair. A pair means 2, like you have a pair of socks, a pair of shoes, a pair of mittens. It's just a pair. Pair means 2. and you have one group of two when it comes to the parallel lines. All right, go ahead and watch the lesson video on the next slide to learn more about how we classify quadrilaterals.